If you have been keeping up with this video series on Christians and politics, you might have realized what you probably already know intuitively, that the mixing of religion and politics is one fraught with moral challenges. To a certain degree, this episode is going to continue down that uncomfortable road, beginning with a surprising meme that I found floating around the web. This specific meme associates the great evangelist Billy Graham with the following quote: "I don't want to see religious bigotry in any form. It would disturb me if there was a wedding between the religious fundamentalists and the political right. The hard right has no interest in religion except to manipulate it." My first thought when I saw this was, quite frankly, is this for real? Needless to say, I was skeptical at first because there are many conservative Christians that seem to openly support one political party, usually Republican, and, as I have often seen, use religion and the Bible to justify that political party's platform. I also want to add that I have long admired Billy Graham, not because he is perfect, after all, no one is except God, but because he dedicated himself to making Christ known in a manner that was very accessible to the masses and easy to understand for the average person. Two reasons that probably helped him become one of the most effective Christian evangelists in all of human history, not just the modern era. Regardless, it didn't take me long to find out that, according to a Snopes.com investigation, Mr. Billy Graham did indeed warn against the mixing of religion and politics. In fact, as Snopes points out in the article Billy Graham, America is Not God's Only Kingdom by Marguerite Michaels, Mr. Graham is reported to have added, "I want to preserve the purity of the gospel and the freedom of religion in America. I don't want to see religious bigotry in any form." Liberals organized in the 60s and conservatives certainly have a right to organize in the 80s, but it would disturb me if there was a wedding between the religious fundamentalists and the political right. The hard right has no interest in religion except to manipulate it. Now, I don't want to claim to be an expert on Billy Graham because I certainly am not. But there are other references that seem to echo Billy Graham's cynicism toward the mixing of religion and politics. For example, this March 2011 article, which is of course before Billy Graham passed away, reports the following. Graham, one of the nation's most well-known evangelists, is now 92 and living in retirement in North Carolina. During an interview with the Evangelical magazine, he was asked if he had any regrets over his long career. Graham replied that he wished he had spent more time with his family, then added, "I would also have steered clear of politics. I'm grateful for the opportunities God gave me to minister to people in high places. People in power have spiritual and personal needs like everyone else, and often they have no one to talk to. But looking back, I know I sometimes crossed the line, and I wouldn't do that now." As you can see, and it seems fair to say that at the very least, Mr. Graham certainly understood that religion could be used and abused by politicians, including those on the right or traditionally conservative end of the political spectrum. Now, the same article also does point out an unfortunate and, if true, disappointing conversation regarding Jews that Mr. Graham had with then President Nixon, and it's conceivable that this conversation might have helped to shape Mr. Graham's own distaste for combining politics and religion. And I think I've already mentioned it, nobody's perfect. Regardless, I'm not sure of the exact reasons, but whatever the case, regardless of where he was in the middle of his life or at the beginning, it is worth noting that at some point, Billy Graham ended up being cautious or skeptical about politics and maybe to some degree politicians. To all the conservative Christians that feel inclined to justify political parties or political candidates based on the Bible, I ask, shouldn't we, at the very least, deeply think about our own relationship with politics? Keeping Christ independent from politics is a good thing. Let us keep in mind, however, that Christ's message and witness can be diluted or compromised by unfortunate or distasteful alliances between Christian organizations and political parties and candidates, liberal or conservative.